questions. Another thing, it's going to start next week. You're going to see construction at our front lobby, and we're going to get it, and I'm very happy to say, a new facelift for the front of the building. It's needed, it's time, and now's the right time to go ahead and start that construction. It starts next week. It should be done in November. Okay, with that, I move to questions. I can answer questions about the plant. And for you in the audience that have tried to ask questions about future stuff, I'm not going to be able to answer them either. I know you've tried Kai, you've tried Harlan, you've tried Doug, and I'm not going to be able to talk about the future stuff, but I'll talk about anything related to the assembly process. Yeah?
Since you're starting a new plant, will people be able to move around to different jobs? And if they do, they go through the virtual training first before they go on?
Yeah, everybody goes through the virtual training. So before we shut down, people got an opportunity, if their job was changing, to go to a different job. So we use the 51% rule. So a 51% or greater of your old job is moving to the new job, you just move to the new job. And that's a big advantage. So if you already knew the job at a 3-minute tack time, then 51% or greater you're going to know at the 5-minute tack time that we're going to. So the amount of work is increasing, but a number of the employees, if their job was 51% or greater, they're going with it. So then we have a list of open jobs, and then based on seniority, they got to fill the open jobs. So starting the week of August 14th, we started bringing the teams back in. We can bring like 3 teams in a week, at a minimum, at least a maximum of 3 teams being in the computers, because we have like 15, 16 computers. And so they're all going through that virtual training, 4 hours, 8 hours hands-on, and then back 4 hours on the computer. And then during that week, we're taking the opportunity to do some more training in safety, and then also our global manufacturing system. So yep, everybody goes through the virtual training, for your short answer. Yes, Jeremy, thanks for being here.
Oh, you bet. What is the anticipated timeline for production to begin again, and how does the paint shop, panels being painted out of the paint shop interact with that? And then as well, with the complexity of what's being done and the changes that are being made, what kind of quality hold would there anticipate being before they're making it to the dealerships and so forth? What's kind of the timeline there?
Okay, we'll start back on your first question. So the end of October, we start, the line gets turned on, we start running through the bugs. November, we're building cars again. That's in general assembly. At the same time, we continue our workability in the paint shop and bringing more cars online as far as the paint shop. The new general assembly has the ability to receive painted panels from both the old paint shop and the new paint shop. So we'll be in a transition period. We're going to make that transition to the new paint shop as quickly as possible. Because of utility reasons is one of the reasons, to run the ovens, the greatest utility charge for the plant is the paint shop. And if you can imagine, if we're running ovens in the old paint shop, ovens in the new paint shop, no, we want to make that transition as quick as possible. Going back to your question maybe about anytime we do a model year change, and it's not unique to Bowling Green, it would be specific for any General Motors plant. Whenever you have a model year change, you're going to run a certain amount of cars, you're going to hold them in the yard, and we're going to go through a process that we call ship to commerce. So we have quality reviews that are natural throughout a launch, any model year launch or any restart. For us, it's a restart. But we're treating it like a relaunch because every single job in our General Assembly has changed. So it'll be the normal couple of weeks, have a meeting, show all the data, and then release to dealers.
Thank you.
Good. What other questions? Yeah, there's a question.
Does this change the production quality and quantity?
so I talked about the tack time. So it used to be we could get what we call 17.1 jobs per hour. And because of the investment, because of what the decisions were made, our new tack time will be 11.6 jobs per hour. So yeah, we'll have in 8 hours less cars than in the old process, but we can always work additional hours. And with our UAW, we have a contract where we can work 5 10s and we can work Saturdays. So it's not going to limit the capacity for what we need for our customer, but our jobs per hour rate is different with the new equipment. What else? I appreciate your attendance today. I appreciate your another question. I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
You mentioned something about the paint booth. There's multiple paint booths?
Yes, there are multiple paint booths. So
in series or in parallel? Does every car go through?
it's in parallel. So every panel gets a prime, and we have 3 prime colors. Right? We have white, we have gray, and what we call pink that we use for our torch red or our Long Beach red. So every car then first goes through the primer, then it goes through the base coat, 10 color options on the base coat, and then of course it goes through a clear coat, and some of our colors have a tinted clear coat. So that would be line 1. Then line 2, again, you have prime, base, and clear coat. So there's actually 3 lines within the new paint shop. And one of the advantages of the new paint shop is our composite panels and carbon fiber, it actually likes to run at a lower temperature. So we're actually baking, our ovens are at a lower temperature, but you know, it's time plus temperature for the baking. So the conveyor system had to be longer to allow for that lower bake time. So that's one of what drove the new paint shop to being bigger than the old paint shop in square footage. Does that answer your question? Okay.
How does this affect all your suppliers?
That's a good question, and it was something that we did put into this presentation. So during this time frame, a lot of our suppliers, they supply multiple GM plants, so they're still running. There's some other suppliers that are running at a lower speed right now while we're not running. And we're taking this opportunity with our quality engineers to go out and visit the suppliers. So I talked about the system called the Global Manufacturing System. Well, we have the same basic elements for our suppliers. It's called Built-in Quality Supplier. So they're looking to implement those same principles. So we're out, the quality engineers, and I'll be visiting several suppliers. I've already visited 4 in the last year, where I go in and I'm looking for the supplier to have those same robust systems in their quality system and coaching them. And this is really an opportunity for me to get out of the plant a little bit and get to the suppliers and do some coaching. So myself, quality engineers, quality manager, we have a schedule of the different suppliers that we're visiting during this 3-month downtime. Yes?
Is the Performance Build Center experiencing some significant upgrades as well, or retooling?
The Performance Build Center will continue to build LT4s. We've got some more, build benches that they used to be a specific length. We had inherited them from the Wixom Performance Build Center, and they were larger than what we need, so it made more space. So we actually got some new work benches for those folks for the LT4 line. So that's been the focus during this downtime. And again, the Performance Build Center, we also have a program in our 3D training, virtual training we call Zendo, and they have an opportunity to go through that training again and get refreshed as we'll bring the Performance Build Center back online when General Assembly comes back.
Thank you.
Customers that choose to build their own engines, do virtual first before they do
You know what, we haven't talked about that, but all of our new employees go through that virtual training, and that is something that that we've talked about. We haven't finalized. Do we have enough time to let them go through that training before they did that? That's a good suggestion. We got to figure that out, because normally it's an 8-hour period, and they're working hands in hands with our engine builder, so they're getting direct training that way. But it's something for us to think about. Yeah. Yes. Tinted clear coat. So sometimes the color is the base color, and that's the final color. If you have a yellow car, if you have a Long Beach red car, the end color that we see is also produced through the tint coat. So it's not just a clear that we final spray on the car. It actually has a coloring to it that adds to that final color of the car. So if you ever had a Laguna blue, was that way, Long Beach red, and the yellow as well.
Nora,
Yeah.
you said that when you start production back up again, all of the permanent, per se, employees are being called back, but you're only called the temporary back a few at a time, and possibly not all of them be called back. Is that true?
Yeah, so in the plant, we have UAW employees. Some of those are permanent, and some of them are temporary. So they knew when they got the job that it wasn't certain how long they were going to be there. And when you think back about my comments around the jobs per hour, that the line is actually running slower, and the work content went from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, just rounding numbers, it means that we need less employees. So all the permanent employees are called back. If the temporary was known that he was in that job, and his team, his or her team is being called back for the virtual training, they come in with the rest of their team to do training. But in the bottom line, there wasn't space for all of the temporary workers. Yeah.
I guess along the same lines, if you need more production side, and you're talking about maybe running under shifts or whatever, and those temporary workers probably fill some of those jobs because.
Yeah, so all of it, we had the opportunity when people were laid off. Those temporary workers were laid off, and they were put in a separate pool. They've been to our plant, so if they would be called back, they would be called back first before anybody else in the general pool. And you know, it's a popular job to work at the Corvette plant. There's other jobs here in Bowling Green. We're very fortunate that there's some other manufacturing jobs. Logan Aluminum is doing an expansion in Russellville, so there's a lot of jobs. But it's people want to work at Bowling Green, and some of our temporary workers left jobs in Glasgow and other areas just so they could come to Corvette and a chance to get a full-time job. Yeah, these are great questions. Yeah.
Along that same lines, the ones that go back into the general pool after the 90 days that they're down or the weeks they're down, will those be pulled back ahead of like people that just haven't been in manufacturing before, or just cleared their screenings and stuff?
Yeah, so we're pulling in the temps with our team members as we pull them in for their 1 week of training. When we get back at the end of October, when everybody's back and we start to line up, and if we still need more employees, we'll go back to that temp pool first of employees that have already been at the plant before we go back to the general pool. Is that your question?
Yes.
Yep.
So when you ramp back up, you'll be at 11 units an hour?
11.6.
Okay. So production will actually be down about 40% from where it was at. Bottom line, at the end of the year, will this affect the cost of the program? Because you're losing some of those students.
No, we at the plant don't determine the price. I get to ask Harlan that kind of questions, but no, I don't think that that's going to affect it. It's just for us, we make a determination It goes back to how much money did we want to spend on capital equipment? And we would have had to spend additional money to get back to the 17.1, and we just chose to do 11.6. We can work additional hours, we can get additional employees. So I don't think there'll be any issue as far as meeting the demand, and I don't believe that will be a factor in the price of equipment. Okay? Yeah.
Just from a cursory look at process, it seems like there's a lot of repetitive jobs. Why then would you see more robots?
Why wouldn't we see more robots? Yeah, in the body shop, we have over 90 robots. In the paint shop, we have new robots. Now we have 6 per booth, and now we have the brand new Fanuc robots. But when it comes to assembling the car, there's fit, and there's just no replacement for somebody's eyes, for their ability to see how it fits, to feel how it fits, and to raise their hand and talk about, you know what, I'm pushing this clip in, and it's not sticking in like it normally does. And so I don't see that we would ever come with enough robots at this time with the technology of today for the General Assembly. And when I think about all the other plants, and I've been in every GM assembly plant in North America except for one, and I would tell you, every General Assembly, it's the people that put the trucks and the cars together, not the robots. We have robots in assembly for putting on the adhesive for both the hatch glass and the windshield glass. And that is typical in any GM plant. But other than that, we don't have a lot of robots. I mean, in some GM plants, they might have a robot install a seat. I could see that. And we're not going to have that in Bowling Green, but I could imagine that and have seen that in other assembly plants. But all the trim pieces, all the other stuff going on, and the fit that we have to do with our car being composite and carbon fiber and bolting on every panel, I can't imagine that with a robot. Compared to a metal car where the body shop welds the car together and they do the fit, and then it goes to paint, and then it goes to General Assembly. We bolt on our panels and with the Corvette, of course. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Plant tours, will there be much difference in plant tours?
So plant tours won't be for a while, but when we haven't, I got to tell you, we haven't determined it. I think that maybe the very first leg of trim being the same, we'll probably do that for plant tours. We will eventually open back up for plant tours because it's such a great thing for our customers, the community, people to get a chance to see GM and specifically Corvette. And it's a great sense of pride for our team members. So we will eventually do that, but I got to tell you, we haven't determined exactly the rate. The number one thing that I always think about is safety of our employees, safety of our guests on tours. So that's going to help determine exactly the path. We'll try to make it as interesting as possible, and areas where you can hear, so we'll use microphones again and that type of thing. So we'll be back with tours, and based on the safety, we'll allow you to see as much of the process as possible, because I think that makes it more interesting the more you can see. I mean, you'll definitely be able to see marriage, tire and wheel, flat track, go by the DBT booths are in the same area. So, there are some segments that are the same, and I can imagine that those will be a part of the plant tour. Jeremy?
What will it take? How long will it take from trim to coming off the line? What will the time for that be?
I haven't figured it out, because it used to be, about a shift and a half.
Mm-hmm.
If you were coming to watch your car being built, they usually told you 2 days.
Right.
It'll be longer. on that. So I guess it's the 40% number. So I bet it'll be 2 days, 2 work days instead of 1.5 now. Yeah.
A lot of your electronics, are testing the car after it comes off the line, and we also check for this.
Yep.
That's all gonna stay in the same place?
Yep. Yep, so the alignment pit, the end of the line that actually, there is some changes for the 3 rail, and as it touches down, that's a little bit different. There's new equipment there. But the flat track, then driving over to the alignment pit, DVT, and the water test booth is actually at the end of the care line now. But you can still see that other booth that we use for other testing. But yeah, DVT is in the same spot, and alignment's in the same spot. It's not changing. Okay. Good. Some of you, I can tell some of you have been in the plant, and you know it. What else? Any other questions? Well, I thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking with you and sharing what's going on in the plant. You know, for those that are traveling, safe travels, and thanks for being here. Bye.